50 employees, right? That's a pretty big operation, especially all located in like a centralized area here. What would you say is the I'll call it breaking point? Like, what is the hardest part right now? Is it maintenance? Is it leasing up? Is it acquisitions? Like where's the machine breaking? Breaking is probably not the right word, but where's the pain point?
Good question. I think first in our business in 𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗵𝗁, we have a management arm. Well, we feel like we have comparative advantages. First, it's management. One of our comparative advantages is we self-manage, we're operators, right? So we're not just an investor, we are an operator. We are very close to our properties. That's where sometimes people may give themselves a disadvantage. I'm friends with a lot of these third-party operators and their companies, but when you and I tell young people that start this business and they're giving their property out to a third party, I'm telling them why. This is fine. You probably want to get your foot underneath you or your feet. It's not going to really get you the kind of know-how that you need. Unless you're trying to understand the know-how, right? And I don't know, Mark, you're in that space, right? You're in third-party operations, right? So, right. So, ideas. But that's if you want to make a business. I mean, some doctors will call you or lawyers, and they'll say, "Operate my building," and that's fine because they have a day job, right? They're not trying to be in the space.
I agree with you, Sal, 100%. I tell anyone that's ever heard me talk, and my partners say when I say this, but I think everybody should self-manage their properties to start, especially if you have the time and you're close enough. So, but I mean, you learn more in their first couple of years self-managing than you will ever if you don't ever self-manage. So
if you're serious about making it a business, right? There's some people, listen, I just met a guy recently in logistics. Cash cow, right? And he just bought a couple of properties, which is another thing, which I love our business guys. Once again, we're like, patting each other, high-fiving each other about our business because it is a reserve asset, real estate asset business. It is where everyone and their mom, if they make money somewhere else, will want to put their money here. So us being experts in our field makes us more valuable, right, to these people, those people. Also, it makes our liquidity even so much more powerful. And obviously, the more liquidity you have in a market, the higher those markets appreciate. Right? So going back to my comparative advantage. I'll sometimes go tangents a little bit to get more info. So keep me. So there's the comparative advantage of management, right? We're in the mix. We have a full office team focused on leasing, service, field, and everything, right? And that is, there's its own challenges there, guys. I mean, especially this past year and a half, we were one thing I've gotten over the pandemic was it really made me say, wow, what I do is very important, right? When you have your residents day in, day out living and not just living in your product, but living in your service and day in, day out using it to the highest levels. Right. It really was humbling, and it really was something that it was pretty challenging for our team on the main because we're not just property managers, but we're sometimes property psychologists. Right, guys? Yep. So we're dealing with a lot of, residents that are stressed. We have our own team that you have to be able to make sure you comfort and give them the tools. So it wasn't easy, and to this day, it's challenging. But that's why what we do is also something that a lot of people don't want to do, which it's just part of one of those reasons why. So we're focused on management, and then we have our own construction team. So I have a GC license. So all our permits we run through my EMS Builders GC license. And I have subs underneath me that I sub out all my construction. And I have a core of 5-6 guys that are directly paid to be able to help me do my turns and my renovations. But for bigger projects, we'll get other subs involved and we turn these units. So we're about to finish the projects on East Lake Terrace, which was right on the water. Gorgeous, we're proud of it. Coming to market, it's right on the northern. I'd be happy to give you guys a tour one of these days. Northeastern right on the tip of on the lake. There's 3 beaches on the water. East Lake Terrace. We're about to put out 11 unit development, full just the works, and it's coming to market this September, next month, tomorrow. So so construction. We have control of that, and because we have a scale, right? The contractors trying to get a sub's attention these days. Good luck, right? So having a queue of work for them is something that gets their attention and allows you to affect. And then obviously the bigger you get, guys, the bigger balance sheet you get. Banks love you. They love you, especially after seeing their hotel business go to S and go to their office business hold their breath and their retail once again wondering what's going to happen. We perform for them, guys. We perform for them. So, and this idea, the bigger you are, the more value and the more, let's say, debt you have with them, they're going to treat you better, and especially if you're managing that well. And at a leverage point, in our case, you try to keep in that, you keep late 50s, early 60s, 60% leverage rate. You don't want to be less. 60s are good. Keep yourself in that range. You can weather, like you said earlier, Tom, you want to be able to weather when things go bad, right? You don't want to be at a situation where we lose 10% on the market, or all of a sudden your property just can't cash flow, right? Because you put too much debt on it, right? So those are the things that we look at comparative advantage: management, construction, finance, balance sheet. And we go to town, and obviously we're able. The more deals you do, the more calls you get from a broker being their first shop, right? They say, hey, before I go to market here, Sal, what do you think? And I'll tell them, I'm a good buyer from the seller's perspective because I'm a good operator. Meaning I can get more property, hence I'll pay you more, right? Well, if there's some operators that aren't so good, they're not going to pay you as good as you'd want them to get paid for, right? Because they're limited to how much they feel like they can operate the